Hi, I'm Adrian King, CTO and founder here at Elements.cloud. In this short video, I want to address a question I get asked quite regularly by our customers and prospects. How do we use Elements ourselves to actually drive change within our own business? That's a really good question. And we do use Elements extensively and hopefully to the full power that it provides. I think the specific question I regularly get asked is, we make a major play of the fact that to build the right thing, actually to ensure that the customer is actually going to get the customer of the change is actually going to get what they want. You've actually got to end up building a complete and coherent set of user stories that you can then pass through to the engineering and development group to actually to build and deliver. And how do you actually go about building that set of stories? I'm actually going to take you through a bit of a sort of demo in a second, but right at the heart, there is the first thing you've actually got to do is to actually ensure your software development lifecycle is fit for purpose and you understand your software development lifecycle. So this short demo is going to actually consist of two parts. The first part is looking at how to map out in Elements your software development lifecycle and to have an approach which is well documented but also flexible and can change as you mature in your process. And the second is running that software development lifecycle supported by Elements. And I'll take you through and just show you sort of high level some examples of how we've done that. I'm actually showing the top level of our process architecture. So this is actually the Elements process mapping capability. And here we've actually got a definition of the way we run our business. Now, at Elements, we've got two very distinct software development life cycles. We've got the one we use to actually build the Elements product, and we've got the one which we actually use to change our business systems to support the way we run the business. And they are different structures. They're different objectives, different audiences, different technologies, different tempos associated with those. So I'm just going to show you that we've mapped out both these. So under box 2 here, we've got build and run the change intelligence platform. If I were to drill into this, you'd actually see that there's again 5 boxes here. So I've drilled in. I click. You click on the tab here, and it actually shows you down below the details, and you can keep drilling down and down and down until you reach the level of the granular level of detail which is appropriate. So in this case, we've got 5 boxes which go from create and refine the product strategy through to running the production environment. And box 4 is where we develop and release the capability. If I drill down into this here, actually the 7 boxes here are the 7 key activities associated with develop and release functionality, and it's how we build the Elements product itself. And I won't go through the details, but if you have a look yourself, I think it'll probably make sense. And we then drill into these to actually understand how we build our products, and we constantly are tuning this. After releases, we actually do a retrospective to understand how well the process works, and if we think there is an issue which needs to be changed, we change it. And I've got no idea, but let's have a quick look here. If I go and have a look at the release history on this, okay, we changed this quite a lot. We're currently on the 33rd version of this particular process diagram. So if I was actually to go all the way back down to level 1, yep, that's changed quite a bit. So you can see that we've actually evolved our software development lifecycle, our methodology for building the way we build Elements. Now, if I go into drive operation improvements in our business process, this is actually the life cycle we use for building our business systems, which is primarily Salesforce. But actually, there are lots of systems in our system landscape that we run the business on. If I quickly switch to our system landscape, and these are the core systems. We're not particularly complex business, but if I expand it, you'll see at the heart of this is Salesforce, but we use Xero for accounts, Gainsight is our customer success management system, HubSpot is our marketing automation system, we use Gong for revenue intelligence. We clearly use our own product. We use Jira. We use the Make integration platform. So all of these are actually come under the software development lifecycle that we use for improving the business. So if I come back to here, you'll see, there's a management process at the top here, define a business change roadmap and deliver business goals. And then running through the sort of 6 primary phases are how we capture improvement opportunities, how we do the analysis, how we design the stories to support that, how we build and document, how we deploy into production, and how we operate and monitor this. So hopefully it's getting a feeling for the fact that if you want to actually run a well-defined software development lifecycle, you've actually got to define your software development lifecycle. And Elements is a fantastic platform for building that knowledge of the process. And if we drive into this box here, you'll see that we actually have 3 different types of change which we do. We've got a technical debt type of change. We've got a business change, and we also actually have effectively a patch change. We've got to fix something. How are we going to do that? So if I drill into this here, you'll see now that I've gone into, there are 3 key phases with a stage gate here that actually I'm also COO of the business. I'm actually responsible for signing off the change. But, we identify the stakeholders and start collaborating on what the business requirement really is. We get a detailed, we start to analyze the initial goals and create a detailed list of requirements. And then we develop the operating model to deliver the requirements. And we can keep drilling down and down into that. So the first thing that we've done is we have really understood how we are going to operate. The next part is, within this, what are the critical facets of critical artifacts that we build? And they are the to-be operating process, the new end-to-end process, and a fully defined entity relation diagram that underpins our understanding of the change. And you can't work out what the changes are going to be unless you understand what the future state should be. And it's just a given. In too many cases, the list of stories I see organizations have a tendency to organically grow from the bottom up. But in that way, you have no hope of knowing whether or not they are complete or consistent. The only way you can do that is to genuinely understand what the future state is going to be and be able to understand what the data to support that future state is going to be. We find that it's a very symbiotic process of doing the process mapping and the data modeling. As you're going through the process map, if you realize that there's some information, some data that you need to run the process and it's not on the ERD, clearly the ERD isn't complete. But more often, we discover that as you're going through the data model, you discover that nowhere in the process are you actually creating a piece of data or a relationship linking things together. And in that case, your process isn't complete. And you've got to actually review the process to ensure that all the activities exist to make sure that the data is in the correct state at the end of the process. Time and time again, when we're doing the review of the process, we realize that we haven't set something up correctly, or we haven't done an edge effect. There's something which isn't quite there as we're being very systematic and walking through the process. Not getting that right at this point has enormous downstream cost when you suddenly discover that you haven't got the story to do that, and now you've got to do it, and everybody's expecting the system to work and it doesn't. So let me quickly take you. So this is an example of how we build the methodology. I'm going to show you an example which we have implemented in our own business. We've built effectively our own CPQ environment, so configure, price, quote on top of the Salesforce opportunity, and using our accounts, opportunities, contacts, etc. But we've also extended it to handle invoicing. So we automatically generate invoices, push those into Xero, and we also deal with the licensing provision for our clients. So it's really CPQ-IL. The business came to us and said, actually, we generate sales commissions to our sales force based on closing opportunities. Could we automate the calculation of sales commissions and integrate it into the process? So effectively turn it into a CPQ ILC platform. So we started by capturing what the business really wanted and started to turn this into an end-to-end process. So this is actually the end-to-end process using elements. And you'll see that it's, 40 boxes or so that defines the set of steps that you go through to ensure that we can calculate commission correctly. And at the same time, we started to build out a not particularly, it turns out, complex entity relationship diagram to just understand what entities and relationships are over between them. We weren't at this stage particularly worried about the field data. We were much more worried about what fundamental objects were involved to deliver this process. And this took us a number of days to build these two such that we could go back. And if you remember the model here, so that get to the point where we could actually do a full review to ensure that we really did understand the business need. And we did. I mean, the proof is the fact that we have delivered this and actually it worked. And it does what it, as it says, it does what it says on the tin. We have supported commissions, we have met the business requirement. And the reason was we fully understood exactly what was required at what step. And if you actually think about this end to end, it actually starts when an opportunity gets created, because we need to actually be able to assign the sales team to the opportunity. And we have, as well as individual, we also have sales commission associated with teams. So this was an important part of the process. The next step was actually around when the opportunity closes. I mean, clearly an enormous amount of work happens in the business between creating the opportunity and closing the opportunity. But this end-to-end process doesn't worry about all that work that's going on. It doesn't affect this capability that we're putting into the business. Now, we've now got the end-to-end process. You'll actually see that we've got these clouds on here. This actually is, we ended up with, once we understood, we are able to start assigning what metadata supports which bit of these processes. So we're starting to tie the data together. But before we were able to do that, we actually, let me open up here and show you, we were able to link all the requirements to where. So we generated the requirements, and I think if you remember in the activity here, no, sorry, in here, we'd actually gone through here and we'd created a detailed list of requirements and elements. Well, that's what we've actually got here, is the set of requirements. And we were then able to put into which areas in the process were fundamentally associated with this requirement. And then probably the single most important capability in terms of getting a coherent and consistent set of stories was walking through the activities and creating the stories. Not every activity has a story, because quite a few of these activities happen and don't need to change from what we do today. But the single most important thing that we do is we systematically go through every activity and go, do we need to change the way the business works to be able to work, to be able to work in the future state? If we do, we need to create a story to go and change it. Now, there isn't necessarily a complete one-to-one mapping. If you actually look here where I've rolled over this particular story, all three of these activities are actually supported by this one particular story. And actually, as you notice, as we roll over stories, it actually highlights the activity that this story is associated with. Incredibly powerful for really understanding what actually happens. Interesting, box 7 here actually has two stories associated with it. One is about the ability to be able to assign a sales team, and actually all three of those, because this box here is about correcting an error in that, and we've done that as one story. We could have done it as two, but we actually did it as one. There is no hard and fast rule about this, but in this case we decided to allocate 3 activities to one story. This story is somewhere to the right in this process, but as we go through, you'll actually see that this particular story here is associated with calculating renewal commission. So when a renewal, we pay a certain amount of commission on renewals. The fact is that we're able to go and generate a set of, I think, probably 20 odd stories here that we needed to implement to deliver on this process. The reality was we ended up with the 20 we needed. We also decided as we went that there were 2 that we decided we did not need to actually do. So we actually decided through the process that we will not ship these. We actually didn't need it. We discovered, whilst the original requirement was for a PDF for the account management team and account managers, actually the dashboards that we put in meant that the PDF was unnecessary. So we were able to decide not to ship it. Let me quickly show how, I'm going to go into edit mode. I'm not going to change this here because this is a production item, but how easy it is. I talked about walking through the processes. I'm walking through, and on the check if an opportunity has a partner, which can affect sales commission, I right click, add change, story. And this allows me to create a new story. I can provide the summary, the description, the reason why this story is relevant to this activity. I might be able to allocate which release we're planning to release a story in, probably not. I can give a risk assessment, but in general, we do the risk assessment once the story has been created. We then go through and think about and do an analysis of how risky it is. We can start defining acceptance criteria. Again, might do that now. Probably we do that further down in the life cycle. And if there's a particular parent requirement that this is addressing, we might well. And because the process links this together, it's actually very easy to go and work out which requirement this is addressing. We can also push this into Jira. We have a very good and complete integration with Jira, two-way integration with Jira, so that once you've defined the stories and done the analysis on them, you can push them into Jira if that's the ticketing system which your dev team uses. So the ability for us to create a coherent and consistent set of stories is driven by the analysis that Elements allows you to do very quickly. Doing business analysis often feels heavyweight and hard work, but that isn't. Actually, we refer to our approach as being agile business analysis. The agile part is that it can be done very quickly and actually quite iteratively to get to a very complete picture of what needs to be built. And then you can decide how and when you're going to build it by knowing the scope. And it could well be that actually this whole scope you're going to break into 3 phases, and the minimum releasable product support is actually only a portion of the stories. This now gives you the picture and roadmap to actually build the right thing to support the business. I hope that this brief video shows that there is enormous power in both capturing how you're going to work and then using the capabilities that Elements provides to actually deliver on the process you've defined and ensure that you've actually done the analysis so that you can actually drive the stories from a complete picture of what you need to deliver. If you want any more information, please reach out to the Elements team, either using the chat inside the Elements product or the chat on my website, or email success@elements.cloud. Hope this has been helpful.